a city or a suburb, most of the time, most installations will be this more often than not, but certainly a large minority will be exposure She. More of a rural area, and not as many obstructions to block the wind, which will leave it more vulnerable to wind. Okay, so let's go. Let's say this one's C. It's a shed out on a farm with relatively high wind exposure. Risk category. Let's look at that. So it says it's designed assuming a risk 1. So a building, which is a building or other structure with a low hazard to human life in the event of failure. Solar arrays are considered risk 1 only because they are only cladding upon existing structure, and the structural failure of the solar arrays can considered to have a low hazard to human life. So that's looks like it's okay. So IronRidge is essentially saying always use category 1, but you'll sometimes have RFQs or other criteria that maybe IronRidge is more up to date in their understanding of risk categories, but sometimes you'll still have RFQs and other other items that will encourage you, if not mandate you, to use category 2 or potentially higher. So the default, a reasonable default, as IronRidge says right here, is 1 because solar arrays are only cladding upon an existing structure. I suppose that makes sense. It's only risk category 1, but keep in mind that if the RFQ says risk category 2 or higher, then go with that one. Always go with the more conservative one, the one that's going to reduce the max span the most, because this isn't the place to do everything you can to cut every corner and drive down the cost. The cost of it means really just the cost of L feet and the cost of installing them, which is a fairly minimal part of the whole cost of the system. So we definitely encourage the Civic Solar way is to be very conservative, and let's put it on 2 just in case. And you'll see that it's so wind exposure and risk category definitely will reduce the max span by a fair degree more than roof slope or building height. Okay, so we're at 6 foot 2 inches with a Zone 3 XR100 rail. Let's go to risk category 2, and now we're at 5'8". Okay. Again, this is very conservative. Most it's fairly typical to have wind exposure B in risk category 1, but for the purpose of this exercise, let's go with these. Okay, wind speed is 110. That was derived from the zip code. The ground snow load is 0. ASC code. That isn't. You can do a drop down. It's not something you can select. Attachment spacing. So this would you would normally be able to expect a span of 6 to 8 feet on XR100, but in this case it's only going to 5 foot 8 inches. So it depends on the job and your installer, but in this case I would be fairly conservative. I'm going to go just 4, keep the 4 foot spacing, and then in the technical notes of the order I'm going to write the max span is assumed to be 4 feet, and that way the installer will know that I'm assuming a 4 foot span, and if he wants to expand it out to a 6 foot, which if it wasn't for the wind exposure in this risk category, we would easily be able to do a 6 foot span, but in this case it's not a possibility. So that's one item that I would always put when we're speccing out the racking ourselves. Always put your assumptions on the in configuring the array in the technical notes. In this one item in this case being the attachment, the space between attachments. Another one would be the orientation, whether the panels are in